here. He'll be here 5 to 6 days every month. But because it was his first visit, I thought कि आप लोग जो है फायदा उठाएं. अब कल किसने देखा? ठीक है ना, जो कल करना है सो आज कर. हालांकि मैं उल्टा कहता हूँ, पता क्या कहता हूँ, बताया था मैंने, जो आज करना है सो कल कर, जो कल करना है सो परसों. इतनी जल्दी क्या है भैया, उम्र बड़ी है बरसों. पर इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि आंसर लिखने भी मेरे को यही सुना दे. ठीक है ना. तो सर का कितना एक्सपीरियंस है, कितनी वैरायटी है एक्सपीरियंस की, मुझे नहीं लगता कि आमतौर पे एंथ्रोपोलॉजिस्ट में तो किसी की नहीं होगी, ये तो मेरे को पता है ना. तो सर का मतलब आप जिस तरह की बेवकूफ़ियों के सवाल मेरे से करते हैं वैसे नहीं करेंगे. ऐसा लगे कि सर को अगली बार आने में खुद मजा आए कि मैं फिर से आता हूँ. ठीक है ना. पर उससे पहले जो है वो जो टोकन ऑफ रिस्पेक्ट होता है वो जो हर बार हम देते हैं, ये जो कॉइन है 1864 का कॉइन है. ठीक है ना. ये सर ये तो परंपरा है ही. और ये भी हमारी परंपरा रही है शुरू कर गिर गया था. पूरा पूरा खोलो. सर बाद में लपेटेंगे, फिलहाल आप लगा लो. ठीक है ना. चलो बैठिए. ठीक है ना. मैं चाहूँगा सर आप पहले तो इनको 15-20 मिनट जो आप कहना चाहें, फिर वो 15 मिनट जो कहना चाहें.
You see, I came with the invitation of Mr. Vaids. I didn't know that, he will be arranging a kind of interaction like this. Saying about myself, I am a person with a difference, I think. Difference may not be for good. I was a professor in anthropology, and then I came into Indian Administrative Service as a lateral entry. Maybe I am the only person in the country who, after becoming a professor, has done a mistake or something, I do not know, come laterally as, an Indian Administrative Service officer. But I had a long span of 19 years to serve in Indian Administrative Service after being a professor. So I have deliberately devoted my time for tribal development. And it so happened that our Honorable Chief Minister, who has been there for the last 23 years, in addition to my whatever position, Collector, Revenue Divisional Commissioner, Director, Tribal Welfare, I have taken charge of the oldest tribal research institute of the country, the TRI Odisha, and I also look after the Odisha State Tribal Museum. In the process, what has happened, I could get an opportunity of combining both research, academics with administration. And that has given me the real feeling of what is happening to tribals around, right at the ground level. And why things are not improving, though fund flow has been huge for the tribals. You see, if you look at the country's population, about 8.6% of the total population of the country are tribals. We have figure up to 2011 census, after which census has not been done. If you project, the population figure, I believe in 2023 January, it must have crossed 12.5 crore tribal population in the country. We have been always saying that there are 705 tribal communities in the country. But if you really see, there will be not less than 1200 tribal communities, because I know I was in the task force of the Government of India, Ministry of Tribal Affairs in 2014. You will find with the ministry about 700 proposals, little more than 700 proposals are pending from different states and union territories for inclusion in the ST list of presidential order. Often we think that, they are only fake, proposals which have come. But even I was discussing with Honorable President Madam today, I had a discussion with her for about an hour. Why I am saying that many proposals need to be included. Out of the 700 odd proposal in 2017, Dr. Vaids, you will find about 400 communities are there who have faced historical injustice. Historical injustice in the sense, phonetic variation. We tell him Vaid. Somebody may tell him Vaid. Vaid. Somebody may say V-A-I-D, Vaid. You see, these are all phonetic variations. So those phonetic variations are not also getting accepted by the government for various reasons, which can be addressed within a whisker. Because they have marital relationship with those communities amongst them, but they have not been given the scheduled tribe tag. As a result of which you find Forest Right Act, which is a very, very, powerful act, which is a tribal friendly act. If it is implemented in letter and spirit, then probably along with PESA Act, it can address all possible issues of the tribals, and tribals would have been way better than what they are today. So while discussing with Honorable President today, I have explained her, and maybe she is going to call for a meeting of the Ministry of Tribal Affairs along with the culprit. The culprits are no other than the Registrar General of India. With such a proposal, I don't know if I am talking sense to you, but I am trying to tell a couple of things which may interest you. When any proposal is sent by Government of India to any ministry, they straight away send it to Registrar General of India. And Registrar General of India, what they do, they look at the proposal and they find out whether this name appears in some colonial, published books during colonial era, like Russell Hiralal, Thurston, and all that. And old gazetteers, if those particular names by even later words do not find figure there, do not find place there, they straight away reject and send back. So what has happened, you find 12.5 crore tribal population in the country, but in reality, if you look at it, you will find not less than 17 to 18 crores of people in the country today who are not getting the benefit which are targeted for the tribals. Now coming to various acts and policies, I think apart from the constitutional provisions, you must have been told a lot, about the PESA Act. You know PESA Act? Who can tell me what is PESA Act? Just in 2 lines. What? Yeah? No, that any Tom, Dick, Harry can say, but what is that? Okay. Okay. Whatever you say, okay. My point is that in 1996, the PESA Act was promulgated. You see, acts cannot move. You see, no acts can be implemented without having rules backing it up. Like, you have a vehicle but you don't have a steering. You cannot take it forward. Just like that, PESA Act, though it has all possible, issues of tribals addressed in it, you do not find a rule so far. It's a central act, there is no central rule. How many years have passed by? You see, 27 years have passed by. That is the reason it is an act with lot of promises, but without a rule as yet, even today. Coming to Forest Rights Act, you must be knowing about Forest Rights Act. How many kinds of, rights can be given under this act? Anybody can say? Tell me broadly, what are the kinds of, titles that can be given broadly? Basically, broadly you can see there are three kinds of acts. Three kinds of, titles. One is individual forest right. The second one is community forest right, under which, resource rights and all that comes. The third important, right, which is there, in Forest Rights Act 2006, is habitat right for the PVTGs, right? You will find individual forest right in whatever you say extent it is possible. It is a starter, and if you look at the potential, number of people that should be covered under this individual forest right under 2006 FRA, so far we have achieved about 32%. We were just conducting, doing an analysis for the entire country recently, we saw. So far as community right is concerned, it promises a lot, but only 7% has been achieved so far. As against the potential, community forest rights that we have calculated using a model. And so far as habitat right is concerned, which is of great concern, because you have 75 PVTGs in the country, you must have known. And they are called as PVTG because they are at the lowest rung of the development indicators, if you look at. It is a non-starter. From 6 to 23, it is a non-starter. Because people have not understood, those who have formulated have not understood what it is, and those who are implementing, of course, are in darkness. For the first time, we in Odisha, during last 3 years, under my stewardship, of course with the coordination of, non-government organizations at the field level, we started demarcating the habitat, area of, each one of the 13 PVTG communities. We got it approved through their Gram Sabha, and now we have taken it forward. It is at the final stage of approval for giving them, the rights. So my only point is that I have only told you two, acts. There are so many acts, so many policies, so many entitlements that, the tribals are to get if you look at the government guidelines, rules, schemes, programs. But there is a huge gap between policies, provisions, and practice. For this, who are responsible? You cannot all the time, make responsible the bureaucrats. You have to also make responsible the community. You can also make responsible the Panchayati Raj institutions, which are very important. And how we could do this in Odisha, and why Odisha is #1 state in the country in terms of implementing and conferring, in conferring, the titles under Forest Right Act is what we did in a very big way. Capacity building training program of the STPRIs, Scheduled Tribe Panchayati Raj institutions. I remember 4 years back in 2018, we prepared a capsulated program which was interactive kind of a training program as to how to go about various kinds of provisions that are available as entitlement for the tribals, so that we provide training to the tribal youths and tribal STPRI members. This module we developed in collaboration with UNDP, and then with government funding, what we did, we tried to bring out tribal youths from each panchayat who have the understanding to, take, properly from us what is that module, what are the schemes available, how to access, and how to get the entitlements. And after providing them, the training, we provided them with, this, not laptops, what is that? Small ones? Tabs. Tabs we provided them, and we provided them whatever, modules we had given, indicating, the links as to how they can apply if they find somebody entitled under a particular scheme. So in Odisha, I can certainly bet my sword and say, after that training was provided to these tribal youths, they in turn provided training, to whom? To the STPRI members. And the STPRI members not only were provided with this training, we also provided them and uploaded, whatever materials we had given. And today you find the first stage process took about 1.5 years, 18 months. And you find we have done an entitlement matrix in which we have identified 32 different kinds of, provisions that one can access to, provided he or she is entitled. All the tribals are not entitled to all the 32, right? And we have now experimented in only 3 blocks. After 4 years, imagine, we have 121 tribal development blocks, and it has been a great success. Now government has taken up this as a mission mode, and they are now trying to go all out to see that this is, not experimented. This entitlement matrix is tried with one and all households who are there, in these 121 tribal development blocks. If you really look at, fund is not a problem for tribal development. Often people think that probably fund is a big constraint for tribal development. For example, in Odisha, we have 22.85% tribals, right? The entire budget, if it is 100 crores, 22.85% crore of the total budget is earmarked for the tribals in TSP areas. It is mandated that amount is to be spent for the tribals remaining in that area. But what happens in the name of the TSP fund? Various government, institutions, government departments, they saw that a road runs from Delhi to, let's say, Bhubaneswar, and that will pass only, 200 kilometers of stretch of tribals. But, the entire, 1,200 kilometers road is booked to this money. Normally, it shouldn't have happened. So that is how they spend this money for some bridge, for some culverts, which is not directly benefiting the tribals, but indirectly benefiting the tribals. This money is getting spent. And another reason as to why this money is not rightfully spent for the tribals, we do not know the gaps. Only if you know what is the gap that exists in each sector. Suppose, Anganwadi center. Anganwadi center, there are to be 600 Anganwadi centers in tribal areas, but we have only 200. We must know what are those 400, so that we can give this prescription to Women and Child Development Department and can say that, look, it is money of the tribals that is remaining with you so much, that 22.85% of your budget. Please take out this list of, 200 or 400, Anganwadi centers, which are, found as a gap in the TSP areas. Spend their money and fill it up over a span of 3 years or 4 years. The biggest issue is we do not know what are the sectoral gaps existing at the village level, at the GP level, at the block level, at the district level, at the state level, so far as TSP area is concerned. If that gap would have been in our pocket, it is very easy to prepare a perspective plan for a period of 4 to 5 years, and that gap filling would have been possible. The money is getting spent every year, 22.85% of the total budget in our state, so also in the entire country, but it is going down the drain. So this is the reason, if you people, get somewhere, an opportunity to get selected and work in bureaucracy, maybe in state administrative service or, Indian administrative service, or for that matter anything, you must try to look at where the shoe pinches and try to identify the gaps existing, without which it is practically impossible to see tribal development happening. Another issue is that normally what, the government functionaries do, the government functionaries do not go to the field, do not feel, what the people are suffering from, what is the felt need of the people, and try to take, a uniform approach for the entire state, for the entire country, when a tribal development initiative is planned and projected, and it is, the orders are given from this national level to the last village level. You must remember that we have 705 tribal communities in the country, and all the tribals are not at the same stage. They are at various levels of development. Each tribal community has its own peculiar culture, peculiar taboos, peculiar cultural practices. They have got resistances on various accounts. Unless you understand those basics, only flowing money and charting schemes, programs, laws, acts, executive instructions will not hit at the bull's eye. So I always say, I had been to the academy last year. I had been to the academy last year. I told, the trainees that I have come on the 9th month of, your training, and I am talking to you. What have you learned? If you are made a collector tomorrow morning, will you allow people to access you? Or you are a collector, when people will come, you will ask them to go to the ADM, sub-collector, the deputy collector, blah, blah, or you will be accessible to the people. They all said, that no, we will be very accessible to the people. But let me tell you, in the country, VAID'S is bringing out so many IAS, from this academy. But somehow or the other, I find that when bureaucrats are going up and sitting in the chair, they are becoming inaccessible, which is unacceptable. If I have done something, for the tribals in the state of Odisha and even in the country also, because I am also into the policy making, it is only because of the fact that I have come with an academic background and I have been taught anthropology. You should be I am very proud of you all that you have opted for anthropology. And this anthropology training, whether you come out successful or do not come out as successful, will give you so much that probably in your day-to-day life, you can use it meaningfully. I found many collectors, many probationers. At least, when I was collector only for 3 years. I have seen, my probationers, give them, a sub-collector position for 3 months, they will become inaccessible. Just to show that, they are babus and they are so powerful. If they go down to the people and talk to the people, they feel often. I am not generalizing. You will feel, they will feel, that probably they will be relegated. But remember, going to the people, calculating their pulse, get the feeling of what kind of, difficulties in which they are, and what kind of approach will suit them, whether it will be a half shirt or a full shirt, or a 3-piece or a 2-piece, or with a dhoti or with a towel, that you have to find out. And identifying those things are so very crucial. But right at this stage, you people have not gone up to that. You are all now striving to appear at the examination, to come out successfully. I must tell you a few things which you should read, apart from host of things which probably I don't think whether I will tell you something new. Dr. Vaids is somebody to whom we look at, to whom many IAS officers of my state looks at. I do not know about other places. You see, you must try to find out. There has been strategies, approaches for tribal development right from the first plan period, right? To the Niti Aayog regime, and even after and during Niti Aayog's regime from 2014 onwards. I am also a member, for the PVTGs in the Niti Aayog committee. So you find these strategies, find these, approaches. All these, if you see, there is no particular thing which has been fully successful. These are all experimentations which have been done with the tribals. But then somebody may ask you, what has been the various approaches right from first plan period till today for the tribal development? You must have given, I believe, them. Try to read, and don't try to read that. Try to read between the lines, you will find many things. If I ask you, what is the recent strategy for development of the PVTGs, can anybody tell me which is that scheme or which is that mission?
PVTGs के बारे में लेटेस्ट स्कीम कौन सी है? मोटा की रिपोर्ट नहीं देगी, और उसके बाद जो मैं भेजता रहता हूँ आप लोगों को PDF, याद नहीं रखना.
I was in that committee, I was in that expert committee, PM PVTG mission. Have you heard about it? You must, all of you should go back today and access. What is PM PVTG mission? I don't think I have time and I have told you Hayward, but then I'll just tell you what is PVTG mission. PVTG, can anybody tell me what is PVTG apart from expanding it? What is PVTG? Who are the PVTGs? Why are the PVTGs? Anybody can tell you? Since when they become PVTGs? On PVTG you will be getting a question, I must tell you. Have you heard about PVTG? How many of you have never heard PVTG? Good. She is the only honest girl.
What are the characteristics of PVTG?
Look, okay. I think I don't have time. I'll take only 5 minutes time to tell you about PVTG mission, because PVTG is something which is going to be asked to you. Well, in 1978-79, for the first time, that time Planning Commission reviewed and found out whether the same approach should be extended for all the tribes, or there are some tribal communities who are more vulnerable than the rest. Okay? They identified 5, criterias. One, they must be, number one thing is, it must be they must be diminishing in number, or they are stagnant. Very low level of literacy, low level of, techno-economy, inaccessible, so on and so forth, 5 characteristics. So on the basis of that, 75, during one plan, there were 52 communities at the first, tranche, and then subsequently in the second tranche, there were 19, that became, 71, and 4 communities later were included under the PVTGs. PVTGs are not, something out of the tribal communities. They are part of the tribal communities. Out of 705 communities, 75 communities were identified as more vulnerable than the rest. And a separate, plan or strategy was made. And that strategy was made with the intention that within 10 to 15 years, these vulnerabilities which have been identified will be addressed, and the PVTGs will not continue to go with the tag PVTG, they will come back to the tribal communities, so that the vulnerability will be reduced. And it was thought that this will be done on a saturation mode within a time frame. But in 2019 to 2021, the studies show that the PVTGs, though a lot of money has been pumped, has not improved significantly. Rather, they have improved at a very slow pace. So, Prime Minister was very keen to see that something comes up, so that on a saturation mode within 2-3 years time, few indicators or few activities will be taken up which can be saturated. So they identified 10 parameters, 10 indicators. I don't remember all the 10 indicators. I can, but I'll not be in a position. Number 1, house to all. Each, now what has been done, each household has been enumerated and it is available to the Ministry of Tribal Affairs. So they have allocated 35,000 crore rupees for the year 2023-24. Over a period of 3 years, they will see that everybody gets a Pakka house, and a Pakka house, as per definition of Pakka house, I have told, Niti Aayog and Ministry of Tribal Affairs that let us not do the ordinary concrete kind of a house structure. Let us look at the ethnic, style of the housing of the PVTG communities, and let us try to do it in the same, style, so that this as a very important cultural marker remains and it is not vanished.
And now they are getting house immediately after the marriage also.
Yes.
They get married and get a house.
Yes. There are a lot of things which government is not doing correct, but then what is the approach now? I am telling you. The second thing is that you find 25 to 40%, I cannot give you exactly, habitations of PVTGs are not connected with road. You cannot go to those villages. During rainy season, there are cut-off areas, you cannot go. So government promises that within a period of 3 years, each village, PVTG village or habitation, it may be a hamlet, will be connected with road, all-weather road. Third activity was that everybody will be provided with safe drinking water, preferably tapped water. The fourth, thing is that, access to electricity, and where electricity is not possible, energy through solar system. The fifth thing was that within a distance of 2 to 3 kilometers, there will be Anganwadi center for the ICDS. Okay. Then healthcare facilities within probably 5 kilometers or something. So that is how, I'm not, able to, and all the PVTGs, those who are entitled will be covered under the Forest Rights Act, and the land will be settled in their name. These are to tell you a few. So this has started in a big way, and probably each state, about 60-70% of the state and union territories who have PVTGs, the database for each household and each habitation, and the gaps and the entitlements that each household can be extended to is available. Once the gap is available, fund is available, it is only the connect that has to be done. So this is the state of affair for PM PVTG mission. Whenever somebody asks you, what is PVTG and what is PTG? Do you know? PTG and PVTG, are they two separate groups? बोलो भाई कुछ बोलो.
No.
That is what?
What is the difference between PTG and PVTG?
You see, initially when in 1978-79, the terminology came, it was, primitive tribal group, PTG. In 2009, a lot of, civil society organizations, activists, even the tribal themselves, they said that, primitive is a word which is derogatory. So don't use, primitive. So they coined, in 2009, particularly vulnerable tribal group. It is one and the same, but then it is only a terminology that has been changed, now.
2022 government order और लोक सभा 23.
Which one?
अभी जो बिल पास हुआ है लोकसभा में.
चलो, इसके बारे में क्या बोलो? You see, often what happens, if you look at India is one such country which is having plethora of acts, policies, programs, whatnot. But how it is used, how it is interpreted, and how it is misinterpreted, and what should I say, how arm twisting is done using those acts also at times Babel sauce. I am not on the government side now, I am retired, but then I have no hesitation in saying what is what. The Forest Right Act, which came in 2006, was basically meant to undo the century-long injustice to the tribals. The land which they have been possessing, accessing for resources, for cultivation, for constructing a house, it will be settled in their name. But right now, on 4th August, correct? On 4th August 2023, I am not telling you against government, okay? On 4th August 2023, government has passed a bill. On the basis of that bill, which is a modification to the 2006 FRA, it has the leverage, it has the power, if necessary, to take back the forest rights land which has been, given to the community or to the individual for purposes that they deem proper. In this context, I tell you what can be the fallouts. I remember when I was Director Tribal Affairs, it was probably 2008-9, 8-9-10, something like that. You must have heard about a community called Dongoria Kand, and you must have heard about a person called Anil Agarwal, and you must also have come to know about what? Vedanta.
They know Vedanta story.
Eh?
They know it. Nature
Vedanta. You must know that. How the PVTG community could resist without arms, without ammunitions, without power. They resisted the harnessing of bauxite from Niyamgiri hills. Okay? And they became successful. I had represented government and probably I have gone 25-30 times to Supreme Court for this case. And I have seen how it was argued out. Ultimately the tribals won. Why? Because the act was such that if it is interpreted properly, it can help them. Otherwise, poor tribals were from they will get money. But now, with the change of this, Forest Right Act in 4th August 2023, that thing has been taken away. Now, it is at the discretion of government. Government, if feels like, can also take back the forest rights land, of course by paying compensation. But tribals who are largely dependent on forest for their survival and their life and living centers around forest, and they are responsible for providing us oxygen, they are responsible providing us thwarting the climate change. If that is taken away, as per the 4th August 2023, this change in the act, then probably the forest will be, the tribals will be at risk, the environment which surrounds, 8.6% of the tribal population of the country accounts for 42% of the forest. It is protected, it is in the safe hand, because it is with them. So if it is implemented, then probably the tribals will be the worst hit, and we will also be, affected adversely because of that. So this thing I told you, you must, read. Other things you must read, you must find out. The LARR Act 2013. You must have read, but you try to read. I will not tell you where, but I had, put a question maybe 3 years back somewhere, that what does LARR Act 2013 provides specially for the tribals? If not, what do you think that should be included to protect and prevent the issues and concerns of the tribals? So do this, and I don't have time today. Next time I come, I'll come prepared, and I'll come prepared on the basis of your requirement, so that I know ahead of my coming through Dr. Vaids, and I'll take 2-3 classes, because I'll be staying next time in September, maybe towards end of September for 7 days. If in the evening you can put them,
anytime.
I can come in the evening and I will interact with you. You can also ask any, nonsense questions on tribal development. I may not be able to, respond to you fully, but I'll try my best to give you the queries that you look for. Thank you, and thank you very much.
अब थैंक्स तो आप करेंगे ही, वो तो करना होता है, लेकिन हमारी बात हुई थी कि आधा घंटा सर अपनी बात कहेंगे, हाफ एन आवर यू विल आस्क योर क्वेश्चंस, पर इट वाज सो इंटरेस्टिंग टू हियर। मेरे को लगता है कि सर को गाँव के एक सेक्शन ट्राइबल डेवलपमेंट का, ट्राइबल इंडिया का ले ही लिया करें जब आए तो। और क्या, आपकी PPTs को एक आध को मैं अडॉप्ट कर लूँगा उसमें, हिसाब बराबर।
And if Dr. Vaids decides that he will take you to Odisha to take you to tribal area, I'll be more than happy to take small groups, maybe group of 25-30.
जो पास हो जाएंगे सब लोग चलेंगे वो। Well, that is going to be at my cost.
And anybody who will qualify, the men, for last 2 years, government of Odisha has done an expert group. We are doing a lot of, mock interviews. So I opt, it can be virtual, doesn't matter. Any students of your group qualifying that, I will request the entire group. Most of them are serving IAS officers. I am the only, odd man out. I will request all of them that, we can have a dialogue with you people, and we'll do that. Thank you very much.
Can I? Sir has already committed to come again, so I don't have to request him.